The celebrations had lasted 3 days across every continent on Earth. Humanity had finally done it. After decades of failed attempts, broken dreams, and lost ships, the first successful warp drive test had brought tears to billions of eyes. Children painted pictures of stars they might one day visit. Scientists hugged each other in laboratories. Admiral Ho stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's first warp-capable warship, and allowed himself a rare smile. That smile vanished when the sensors started screaming. "Sir, we have multiple contacts," the young officer at the scanner station said, his voice shaking. "Correction, we have hundreds of contacts. They just appeared out of nowhere." Ho's experienced eyes scanned the display. Massive ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, hung in space above Earth like silent judges. More reports flooded in from Mars colonies, lunar bases, and orbital stations. The alien vessels had appeared simultaneously across the entire solar system. "Battle stations," Ho ordered, his voice calm despite the ice forming in his stomach. "Get me President now." In the presidential office in Seoul, President was already watching the live feeds. At 38, she was the youngest person ever elected to lead the United Earth Coalition. She had won on promises of peace and exploration. Now, aliens had arrived on her watch and they had brought an armada. "How many ships?" she asked her military advisor. "Over 300 in Earth orbit alone, Madam President. They're positioned above every major city." Felt her mouth go dry. This was not the first contact scenario anyone had hoped for. Before she could give orders, every screen in the building switched to the same image. A creature stood before them, tall and gray-skinned, with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. "People of Earth," the alien spoke, and somehow everyone on the planet heard it in their own language. "I am High Chancellor of the Dominion Collective. We have watched your species for many cycles. Your achievement of faster-than-light travel has brought you to our attention." Dr. Haywon, Earth's leading expert watched the broadcast from her office at the First Contact Center. She had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Something about the alien's words bothered her, but she could not put her finger on it. She started recording every detail, analyzing the speech patterns and body language. High Chancellor continued speaking. "The galaxy is a dangerous place. Countless species have destroyed themselves through war, greed, and chaos. The Dominion Collective exists to prevent such tragedies. We are a union of 47 peaceful species, working together under one rule to ensure prosperity and safety for all." Glanced at her advisors. Some looked hopeful, others looked worried. She kept her face neutral and kept listening. "We invite Earth to join us," said. "As a protected species under Dominion guidance, humans will be safe from the many threats that exist beyond your small system. Your people will have peace. Your world will be protected. All we ask is that you accept our friendship." The message ended. For a moment, the entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Then the debates began. News channels exploded with commentary. Social media became a battlefield of opinions. Some people celebrated, calling it humanity's greatest moment. Others warned of hidden dangers. Admiral Ho did not celebrate. He studied the alien fleet's positions with growing concern. He had spent 30 years in the military, fighting pirates, rebels, and the occasional border dispute. He knew tactics. He knew formations. What he saw above Earth was not a diplomatic escort. "This is an invasion fleet," he muttered to his first officer. "They're positioned for orbital bombardment, not friendship." He sent an urgent message to the president. Dr. Haywon had reached the same conclusion through different means. She played the alien's speech over and over, running it through every analysis program she had. The words said invitation and protection, but the underlying structure spoke of command and domination. She found 73 instances where the translation patterns suggested threats disguised as offers. She sent her findings to President with a simple note: "We are not being invited, we are being conquered." called an emergency meeting of the World Security Council. Leaders from every nation gathered virtually, their faces showing a mix of hope, fear, and confusion. Some argued that this was humanity's chance to join a galactic civilization. Others demanded that Earth remain independent. "We need more information," Ambassador Jin argued. She was Earth's top diplomat skilled in negotiation and compromise. "Let us talk with them, understand their terms. We cannot make decisions based on fear." "We cannot make decisions based on hope either," Ho countered. "Their ships are in attack positions. My analysts have studied every detail. This is not how you arrange ships for a friendly visit." President listened to all sides. She read Dr. Haywon's report 3 times. She studied the tactical assessments. She thought about the millions of children who had celebrated humanity's achievement just days ago. Then she made her decision. "We will meet with them," she announced. "But we do so as a free people. Admiral Ho, move our defense fleet to high alert, but do not provoke them. Ambassador Jin, prepare a response. Make it clear that while we welcome dialogue, Earth will not surrender its sovereignty." That night stood alone in her office, looking up at the sky. Somewhere up there, hundreds of alien ships waited. She thought about all the history lessons she had studied as a child. She thought about every human civilization that had been forced to bow to a stronger power. She thought about the price of freedom. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her military chief. "Madam President, the aliens have sent a response. They wish to meet with you in person. They're sending a shuttle to the United Nations building tomorrow morning. They say they have important terms to discuss." Replied with 2 words, "I'll be there." She looked back at the stars one more time. Humanity had reached for them with open hands. Now those same stars had reached back, but whether with hands of friendship or fists of conquest remained to be seen. Tomorrow would bring answers. Tomorrow, Earth would learn what the Dominion Collective truly wanted. And deep in her heart, already knew the answer would not be good. The United Nations building had never seen security like this. Soldiers lined every corridor. Snipers positioned themselves on surrounding rooftops. Fighter jets circled overhead. Admiral Ho had wanted to meet the aliens in space, on neutral ground, but High Chancellor had insisted on coming to Earth. Now, watching the alien shuttle descend toward the landing pad, Ho understood why. It was a show of power. President stood in the assembly hall, surrounded by leaders from every nation on Earth. Dr. Haywon stood nearby, ready to assist with translation if needed. Ambassador Jin reviewed her notes one final time. Everyone wore their best formal attire, but had noticed that many leaders had chosen to wear their military medals. It was a subtle message. The doors opened. High Chancellor entered, flanked by 6 armed guards. Each guard stood over 7 feet tall, covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light. They carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Himself moved with the confidence of someone who had never known defeat. "President," said, his voice echoing through the hall, "and leaders of Earth, thank you for this meeting. Shall we discuss your future?" "Our future is ours to decide," replied firmly, "but we will listen to what you have to say." His expression did not change, but something flickered in his glowing eyes. He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the galaxy, with vast sections marked in blue. "This is Dominion space," explained. 47 species living in harmony under our protection. Crime is minimal. Wars are non-existent. Resources are shared fairly. It is paradise compared to the chaos that once existed. He gestured again, and the display zoomed in on Earth. "Your world will join us. This is not a request for debate. This is how it will be. The terms are simple and reasonable." The hologram changed, displaying text in every language. Dr. Haywon's face went pale as she read. Ambassador Jin grabbed the edge of the table to steady herself. Even Ho, who had expected bad news, felt his stomach drop. You will dismantle all military forces within 30 days, stated calmly. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your ships will be scrapped. The Dominion will provide protection so you will not need them. That's not protection, that's disarmament, one of the Chinese leaders interrupted. Continued as if no one had spoken. Your government will be dissolved. The Dominion Council will appoint administrators to manage Earth's transition. Your laws will be replaced with Dominion law. Your economy will be integrated into the Dominion system. And our people, asked, her voice dangerously quiet. Will be relocated, said. Humans will be assigned to designated zones based on your skills and usefulness. Population centers will be restructured for maximum efficiency. Some individuals will be selected for off-world labor programs. The room erupted. Leaders shouted in anger. Some demanded that leave immediately. Others called for military action. Through it all, remained silent, her mind racing. Finally, she raised her hand and the room fell quiet. You call this an invitation, she said, but it sounds like slavery. It is order, replied. Your species is young and violent. You have wars, crime, and inequality. We will fix these problems. In time, you will thank us. And if we refuse? Ho asked, stepping forward. For the first time, showed emotion. He smiled, and it was not a pleasant sight. Let me show you what happens to species that refuse. The hologram changed. It showed 12 different worlds, each one beautiful and unique. Then, one by one, the worlds burned. Cities crumbled. Oceans boiled. Life vanished. Let the images play for a full minute before continuing. 12 civilizations, he said softly. 12 foolish civilizations that chose pride over peace. They are extinct now. Their planets are monuments to the price of defiance. You're a monster, Ambassador Jin whispered. I am practical, corrected. The Dominion has maintained peace for 800 of your years. We have saved countless lives. If a few species must be sacrificed for the greater good, then so be it. Now you have 30 Earth days to comply. Choose wisely. He turned to leave, but's voice stopped him. No. Turned back slowly. Excuse me. I said no. Stood tall, her voice clear and strong. Humanity has fought for freedom since the day we learned to walk upright. We have suffered under tyrants before. We have bled and died for the right to govern ourselves. We did not reach for the stars just to become slaves. She walked forward until she stood directly before, fearless despite his towering height. You have 24 hours to remove your fleet from our solar system. If you do not leave, we will remove you ourselves. The silence in the room was absolute, stared at as if she had grown a second head. His guards shifted nervously. Finally began to laugh, a sound like grinding metal. You cannot be serious, he said between laughs. Your entire military is smaller than one of our battle groups. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons are toys. You would be destroyed in minutes. Maybe, agreed, but we would die free. Can you say the same about your 47 enslaved species? Slaughter died. His eyes narrowed dangerously. You do not know what you are doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, said. I'm telling you that Earth is not for sale. Our freedom is not negotiable. And if you want to take it from us, you'll have to kill every last human being on this planet, because we will never, ever surrender. The other leaders began to stand, one by one. First the Japanese Prime Minister, then the American President, then the European Union representatives. Within moments, every leader in the room was standing, facing, and his guards. The message was clear and united. Fools, hissed, you will regret this. When your cities burn and your children cry, remember that you chose this fate. We'll remember that we chose freedom, Ho said, his hand resting on his sidearm. Now get off our planet. And his guards left, their footsteps echoing through the silent halls. As soon as the alien shuttle lifted off, the room exploded into action. Military leaders began shouting orders. Scientists rushed to their laboratories. Politicians called emergency sessions. Collapsed into a chair, suddenly feeling the weight of what she had just done. Dr. Haywan sat beside her. "You just declared war on the most powerful force in the galaxy," the scientist said quietly. "I know," replied. "We cannot win." "Maybe not," admitted. "But our children will know we tried. They'll know we didn't bow. Sometimes the fight itself is the victory." Admiral Ho approached, his face grim. "Madam President, I need to activate the Shadow Protocol." Nodded. The Shadow Protocol was Earth's deepest secret, a defense network built in paranoia after the first detection of alien signals decades ago. Humanity had always feared this day might come. "Do it," she ordered. "And Admiral, make sure they regret coming here." Ho saluted. "Yes, ma'am. They'll learn why you don't corner a human being. We fight hardest when we have nothing left to lose." As night fell on Earth, the alien fleet began moving into attack formations. In response, lights blazed in military bases across the planet. Ships powered up. Weapons came online. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. The war was coming, and neither side would back down. The Dominion fleet made its first move exactly 24 hours after the ultimatum expired. High Chancellor chose Mars as the example, a calculated decision to show Earth what awaited them. 300 alien warships positioned themselves above the red planet, their weapons charging with a glow visible from Earth's telescopes. Colonel watched from his command post on the Martian surface. He was Earth's top special operations commander, a man who had spent 15 years fighting in places where regular armies could not go. His 4,000 soldiers were spread across 12 colonies, and they were about to face an enemy that outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. "All units, this is," he spoke into his comm. "Remember your training, remember why we fight. Today, Mars teaches the galaxy what humanity means." The first Dominion bombardment lit up the Martian sky like a second sun. Plasma beams struck the ground, vaporizing stone and metal. Entire buildings vanished in seconds. The aliens were precise and methodical, destroying military targets first. They had done this before on other worlds. But something was wrong. High Chancellor, one of the Dominion commanders, reported from his ship. "The humans are not retreating. They're moving toward our bombardment zones." Frowned at his display. Sure enough, human soldiers were running into the impact areas, not away from them. "They're panicking. Continue the assault." On Mars smiled grimly. "Let them think we're scared," he thought. "Now," he shouted. Hidden beneath the Martian surface, Massive fired. The tungsten slugs, each one weighing several tons and moving at a significant fraction of light speed, punched through 3 Dominion ships before anyone realized what happened. The alien vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs. "Impossible," shouted. "How did they hide those weapons?" The answer was simple. Humanity had been paranoid. For 50 years, Earth's engineers had buried weapons across the solar system, just in case. Now that paranoia was paying off. Admiral Ho watched from the bridge of the UES horizon as his hidden fleet emerged from behind the moon. 50 ships, Earth's and most advanced, had been concealed there for months. They were smaller than Dominion vessels, faster, and built with one purpose: to hurt the enemy before dying. "All ships attack pattern Delta," Ho ordered. "Show them what desperation looks like." The human fleet charged directly at the Dominion armada. It looked like suicide, and in many ways it was. But Captain Sung, leading the attack wing, had a different word for it. "This isn't suicide," he told his crew. "This is making every shot count." His ship, the UES Defiant, accelerated to maximum speed. Dominion point defense systems opened fire, but Sung's piloting was erratic and unpredictable. When he should have zagged. He dove when logic said climb. The alien computers could not predict his movements because they made no tactical sense. At the last possible second, Sung ejected his crew in escape pods and rammed his ship directly into a Dominion dreadnought's hangar bay. The explosion tore through 3 decks. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien ship as fuel and ammunition cooked off. Commander led her fighter squadron through the chaos. The human fighters were tiny compared to Dominion craft, but they were also far more maneuverable. She danced through enemy fire, her reflexes honed by years of training and enhanced by combat drugs that would kill her eventually, but kept her sharp now. "This one's for Sung," she whispered, launching missiles at a Dominion cruiser's exposed engine. The Dominion fleet was learning a hard lesson. Human ships did not fight like the other species they had conquered. There was no orderly retreat, no logical surrender when odds became impossible. Human pilots rammed ships when they ran out of ammunition. Human soldiers detonated nuclear mines while standing on them to ensure hits. Human captains fired every weapon until their ships broke apart. "What's wrong with them?" a Dominion captain screamed as a crippled human destroyer somehow managed to destroy 2 more of his escorts before finally exploding. Chief Engineer Dongwu watched the battle from Earth's command center. He had been working without sleep for 3 days, preparing humanity's secret weapon. Now it was ready. "Admiral Ho," he transmitted, "system is online, waiting for your command." Ho checked his tactical display. Mars was holding, but barely. His fleet had destroyed 20 Dominion ships but lost 30 of their own. The math was not in humanity's favor. Time for something new. "Target the enemy formation center. Fire when ready." The system was not elegant. It was not precise. It was a brute force application of physics that should not work but somehow did. Dongwu had weaponized quantum uncertainty itself, creating a field where the normal rules of reality became suggestions. The weapon fired, space itself seemed to scream. A sphere of distorted reality expanded from the weapon platform. Every Dominion ship caught in its radius simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not damaged, but erased as if they had never been built. 37 alien vessels vanished in 3 seconds. The entire galaxy saw it happen. Every race with sensors advanced enough to detect quantum anomalies witnessed humanity's desperation made manifest. The message was clear: if we die, we're taking you with us. Stared at his displays in horror. "Retreat, all ships, retreat from Earth system immediately." But was not done. On Mars, he activated the charges his teams had spent months planting on hijacked Dominion supply ships. The explosions caught 3 more enemy vessels as they tried to flee. Lieutenant Bora's best soldier and Admiral Ho's held the defense line at New Beijing Colony. She was 26 years old and had dreamed of seeing the stars her entire life. Now she was dying under them, bleeding from a dozen wounds. "Colonel," she transmitted weakly, "they're breaking through, I can't hold them." His voice cracked. "Fall back, Bora, that's an order." "Can't, sir, too many civilians behind me, someone has to hold." She coughed blood. "Tell the Admiral I'm sorry I won't make captain." She detonated the nuclear device she had been protecting. The explosion vaporized the entire Dominion ground force and turned the colony into a crater. It also killed 200 civilians who refused to evacuate and stayed to fight alongside her. When the dust cleared, Mars was still under human control. The Dominion had retreated. Earth had won its first battle. Ho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the tactical displays. 23 human ships remained from his fleet of 50. Mars colonies reported 60,000 casualties. The victory had cost them dearly. President's face appeared on his screen. Her eyes were red from crying. "Admiral, we held." "Yes, ma'am," Ho replied, "but we'll come back, and next time he'll bring more ships." "Then we'll kill more ships," said with steel in her voice. "This war is not over, it's just beginning." Dr. Haywon interrupted the conversation. "Madam President, Admiral, you need to see this. The Dominion's internal communications are going wild. Other species are watching what happened here. They're asking questions. She played the intercepted transmissions. Across the Dominion, enslaved species were seeing humans fight back successfully. They were seeing the mighty Dominion fleet retreat. Seeds of rebellion were being planted. "Then we need to water those seeds," said, joining the conversation. "We need to take this fight to them, show the galaxy that the Dominion can be beaten." Looked at her advisors. They were exhausted, traumatized, and covered in the metaphorical blood of their dead. But they were also still standing, still fighting, still free. "Plan an offensive," she ordered. "Find Dominion worlds, hit them hard. If they want war, we'll give them war they'll never forget." Ho allowed himself a grim smile. "Yes, ma'am. Time to show them why cornering humans is a fatal mistake." The Battle of Mars was over, but the war for the galaxy had just begun. 3 weeks after the Battle of Mars, humanity struck back. Not with one attack, but with 3 simultaneous invasions that sent shockwaves through the Dominion. Admiral Ho had studied every piece of intelligence his teams had gathered from captured alien vessels. He had found the cracks in the Empire's armor. The first target was Prime, a Dominion factory world where weapons were manufactured. Commander led the assault, her fighter wings screaming through the atmosphere like vengeful angels. The defending Dominion fleet had expected a careful, tactical approach. Instead, they got chaos. "All wings weapons free," commanded. "Make them afraid." Human fighters dove through defensive fire that should have killed them. Pilots pulled maneuvers that blacked them out temporarily. Some crashed into defense platforms deliberately. The Dominion defenders, trained for orderly warfare, found themselves unable to predict or counter the savage, unpredictable human tactics. Within 4 hours, Prime's orbital defenses were destroyed. Teams began broadcasting a message to the planet's surface, where enslaved workers built the weapons their masters used to keep them controlled. "People of this is Commander of Earth. We're not here to conquer you, we're here to free you. The Dominion has lied to you. They are not invincible, look at your sky. Human ships control it now. Stand up, fight back, choose freedom." The second attack hit a Dominion research station orbiting a dead moon. Colonel and his Special Forces teams infiltrated the station through a debris field, boarding it before anyone knew they were there. What they found inside made them all feel sick. The station was conducting experiments on living beings. Dominion scientists were testing weapons, diseases, and torture techniques on prisoners from a dozen different species. The researchers had treated their subjects like objects, not people. "Document everything," ordered his teams, his voice tight with rage. "The galaxy needs to see this." While his soldiers freed the prisoners and destroyed the research, personally uploaded the evidence to every communication network he could access. Within hours, images of Dominion atrocities were spreading across 47 worlds. The careful image of benevolent rulers began to crack. The third strike targeted Prime itself, the heart of Dominion power. Admiral Ho led this assault personally with what remained of Earth's main fleet. It was the boldest move anyone had ever attempted against the Dominion. "Sir, this is suicide," his first officer warned. "We're attacking their capital world." "Exactly," Ho replied. "They think we'll hide and defend. They expect us to be afraid. Time to show them that humans are at our most dangerous when we have nothing to lose." The Battle of Prime lasted 2 days. Human ships fought with a ferocity that terrified the Dominion defenders. When a ship was crippled, its captain would aim it at the nearest enemy and trigger the reactor overload. When ammunition ran low, human crews turned their ships into rams. When shields failed, they kept fighting until their vessels broke apart. High Chancellor watched the battle from his command center, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. By all logic, the human fleet should have been destroyed in the first hour. Instead, they were holding their own against a force 3 times their size. "How," he whispered, "how are they doing this?" Dr. Hayone could have answered him. She had spent weeks analyzing every aspect of Dominion military doctrine and found its fatal weakness. The Dominion fought with efficiency and logic. They calculated odds and retreated when necessary. They valued their ships and their lives. Humans did not. A human ship worth 1 billion credits would ram a Dominion vessel worth 1 trillion without hesitation. A human pilot would sacrifice themselves to save their wingman, not because it made tactical sense, but because that wingman was their friend. Humans fought not with calculation but with fury, love, and desperate determination. But Hayone's greatest discovery was not about fighting. It was about the Dominion itself. Deep in the captured data from the research station, she found the truth that would change everything. "President," she transmitted urgently, "the Dominion is not what claimed. The 47 species are not allied. They're slaves. Every single one was conquered. The Dominion maintains control through fear and lies." Saw the opportunity immediately. Broadcast this. Send it everywhere. Let every enslaved species know the truth. The transmissions went out across the galaxy. Humanity's message was simple and devastating. You are not allies, you are prisoners. The Dominion has lied to you for 800 years. Rise up. We will help you. Together, we can be free. On the industrial world of a warrior race called the Herd the message. For 3 generations, they had served the Dominion as soldiers, told that they were honored members of a great alliance. Now they learned they were slaves with weapons. Commander, leader of a military unit, made a decision that would echo through history. He ordered his forces to turn their weapons on their Dominion overseers. "For 800 years they lied to us," he announced to his warriors. "No more. Today we fight for ourselves." The rebellion spread like wildfire. Within days, Dominion forces were fighting their own former soldiers on 20 different worlds. The Empire's military began to collapse from within. On Lyra, a species of brilliant engineers had been forced to build Dominion technology for centuries. When they learned the truth, they did not take up weapons. Instead, they stopped working. Every factory went silent. Every shipyard ceased production. The Dominion's supply lines began to fail. Vice Admiral Sangwoo commanded Earth's defense of the outer colonies when the Dominion launched a desperate counterattack. They sent everything they had left, trying to crush humanity before the rebellion spread further. Sangwoo knew he was outnumbered 5-1. "All ships prepare for combat," he ordered. "This is where we hold the line." The battle was brutal. Sangwoo's fleet fought brilliantly, using asteroids for cover and turning debris fields into traps, but the Dominion kept coming. When his flagship took critical damage, Sangwoo faced a choice. Behind him, civilian transports were evacuating colonies. They needed more time. His ship was dying anyway. "All hands abandon ship," he commanded. "Captain, you have the fleet. I'm buying you 30 more minutes." Before anyone could argue, Sangwoo locked out the bridge controls and aimed his crippled ship at the enemy formation. He activated the reactor overload and opened a communication channel. "This is Vice Admiral Sangwoo to all Dominion vessels. You wanted to break us. You wanted us to surrender. Here's our answer." His ship exploded in the middle of the Dominion fleet, destroying 8 enemy vessels and crippling a dozen more. The civilian transports escaped. The cost was 1 ship and 1 brave man who refused to let innocents die. Earth mourned Sangwoo as a hero. The Dominion mourned him as a terror, an example of human willingness to sacrifice everything. President addressed the planet and the galaxy. The Dominion came to Earth demanding surrender. They showed us images of destroyed worlds, thinking we would be afraid. They were wrong. We will not surrender. We will not bow. And we will not stop until every enslaved species in this galaxy is free. Her words reached the enslaved populations on 30 more worlds. Rebellions erupted. Dominion governors were overthrown. Weapons were turned on oppressors. The empire that had stood for 800 years was crumbling. But High Chancellor had one final card to play. Deep in Dominion space, construction had been completed on the Starbreaker, a weapon capable of destroying entire solar systems. It was meant as a last resort, a doomsday device to maintain order through ultimate threat. Now prepared to use it, his target Earth itself. "If I cannot rule them," he told his advisors, "then they will die, and every rebellious species will see what happens to those who defy the Dominion." The Starbreaker began its journey toward Earth's system. Humanity had 72 hours before their world would be destroyed. The question was not whether they would survive. The question was whether they would take the Dominion down with them. Admiral Ho received the intelligence and immediately called an emergency meeting. "We can't stop that weapon with our fleet. It's too heavily defended." "Then we need to think differently," Chief Engineer Dongwu said. "We need to sabotage it from inside." Colonel nodded. "That's a suicide mission." "Everything we've done has been a suicide mission," Dr. Haywon pointed out. "We've survived by doing the impossible. Time to do it one more time." President looked at her team. They were exhausted, traumatized, and facing certain death. But they were still standing, still fighting, still free. "Then let's save our world," she said. "One last time." The Starbreaker moved through space like a mechanical nightmare. It was the size of a small moon, powered by technology that had taken the Dominion 2 centuries to develop. At its core, enslaved psychic beings channeled energy into weapons that could shatter planets. High Chancellor stood in its control center, watching the countdown to Earth's destruction. 72 hours, he said with satisfaction. "Then this rebellion ends." On Earth, Admiral Ho gathered every remaining ship humanity possessed. Every defense platform activated. Every weapon came online. Every soldier prepared to fight. President had ordered a global evacuation impossible to complete in time, but they tried anyway. Millions boarded ships heading to Mars and the outer colonies. Billions more stayed behind, choosing to stand with their world. "We'll buy time for the evacuations," Ho announced to his fleet. "Every minute we hold matters. Every second we survive saves lives." But Chief Engineer Dongwu had a different plan. "Admiral, the Starbreaker's power source is psychic beings. Dr. Haywon believes we can communicate with them." Haywon nodded, her hands shaking as she reviewed her research. "The Dominion enslaved a species called the 50 years ago. They're being forced to power the weapon. If we can reach them, if we can convince them to help us." "It's a long shot," Colonel said. "But everything we've done has been a long shot. I'll lead the infiltration team." "I'm coming with you," Haywon insisted. "You'll need me to communicate with them." Wanted to argue but knew she was right. Together, they assembled a team of 30 Special Forces soldiers. Each one knew this was a suicide mission. Each one volunteered anyway. The team launched in a stealth ship, using debris and wreckage as cover. They approached the Starbreaker from an unexpected angle, exploiting blind spots that should not exist but that human intuition somehow found. Dominion sensors, designed to detect logical attack patterns, missed the chaotic approach completely. They breached the hull using stolen Dominion access codes. Inside, the team moved like ghosts through corridors designed for beings twice their size. They killed guards silently and efficiently, leaving no trace of their passage. Meanwhile, Admiral Ho launched his assault. Every human ship charged the Starbreaker's escort fleet in a desperate bid to draw attention away from its mission. It was suicide, but it was also necessary. Commander led her fighter squadrons into the teeth of Dominion defenses. Missiles and plasma fire filled space. Ships exploded on both sides. She had stopped counting her kills and focused only on survival, weaving through fire that should have vaporized her 100 times over. "This is insane," one of her pilots screamed. "We can't win this." "We're not trying to win," shouted back. "We're trying to give them hell. Keep fighting." Inside the Starbreaker's team fought their way toward the core. They lost soldiers at every junction. By the time they reached the psychic chamber, only 12 remained, placed charges on the door and blew it open. What they found inside broke their hearts. Hundreds of floated in suspension tanks, their bodies thin and weak. Cables attached to their heads channeled their mental energy into the weapon. They had been prisoners for 50 years, used as living batteries, tortured every day to generate the power needed. Dr. Haywan approached the nearest tank, tears streaming down her face. She pressed her hand against the glass and reached out with thoughts of compassion and freedom. The eyes opened, glowing with faint light. "We're here to free you," Haywan whispered, hoping the being could understand. "Help us stop this weapon, help us save Earth, then we'll save you." This consciousness touched hers, and Haywan gasped. She felt 50 years of pain, torture, and despair. She felt this hopelessness, the certainty that freedom would never come. But she also felt something else, the faintest spark of hope. "Trust us," Haywan pleaded. "Humans never surrender. We came here for you. Help us and we'll help you, I promise." The reached out to its fellow prisoners. A psychic network formed, connecting hundreds of tortured minds. They debated for seconds that felt like hours. Then together, they made their choice. Power surged through the Starbreaker, but not toward its weapon systems. They redirected the energy inward, sabotaging every critical system they could reach. Explosions rippled through the massive vessel. Shields failed. Engines died. The countdown to Earth's destruction stopped at 47 minutes. "What's happening?" screamed. "Get that weapon back online." But his engineers could not fix what they were destroying. The psychic beings, enslaved for half a century, were finally fighting back, and they were winning. His team rushed to free them from their tanks. They cut cables and smashed locks, working frantically as alarms blared around them. Dominion soldiers were coming, drawn by the chaos. "Colonel, we have incoming," one soldier shouted. "At least 100 hostiles." "Hold them off," ordered. "We're not leaving these people behind." His remaining soldiers formed a defensive line at the chamber entrance. They fought against overwhelming odds, spending every bullet to buy seconds. One by one they fell, but they did not retreat. They held the line because that was what humans did. Outside, Admiral Ho saw the Starbreaker's shields failing. "All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel, hit it with everything." The human fleet, battered and bleeding but still fighting, unleashed their remaining weapons. Missiles and slugs slammed into the Starbreaker's exposed hull. Dominion escort ships tried to intervene, but Commander's fighters intercepted them, sacrificing themselves to keep the pressure on. The Starbreaker began to break apart. Secondary explosions cascaded through its structure, watched in horror as his ultimate weapon died around him. "Evacuate," he screamed. "Everyone evacuate now." Inside the psychic chamber, carried the last to the escape shuttle. 6 of his soldiers remained alive, wounded but functional. Dr. Haywan helped the weak psychic beings aboard. "Colonel, we're out of time," his pilot warned. "The ship's reactor is going critical." "Then fly faster," snapped. He looked back at the soldiers who had died holding the line. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Thank you." The shuttle launched just as the Starbreaker exploded. The detonation was visible from Earth, a second sun blooming in space. When the light faded, the Dominion's ultimate weapon was gone. So was most of their fleet, caught in the explosion. High Chancellor's escape pod was captured by human forces. He was brought before President in chains, his pride shattered. The mighty ruler of 47 worlds now stood defeated before a species he had dismissed as primitive. "You destroyed me," said quietly. "How?" "You underestimated us," replied. "You thought weapons and numbers were all that mattered, but you forgot about will, you forgot about sacrifice. You forgot that freedom is worth dying for." Across the galaxy, the remaining Dominion forces surrendered. Rebellions succeeded on 30 worlds. The warriors declared independence. The engineers built ships for themselves instead of masters. The freed from their torment used their powers to help locate other enslaved populations. The empire that had ruled for 800 years collapsed in 6 months. 1 year later, a memorial was unveiled on Earth. It listed the names of every human who had died in the war. There were millions of names, too many to read in a day. President stood before the memorial, now older and grayer, addressing representatives from 40 newly freed species. "We did not fight for conquest," she said. "We fought because freedom is the birthright of every sentient being. We fought because some things are worth dying for. We fought because we're human and humans do not bow." She paused, looking at the gathered aliens who had come to thank humanity for their freedom. "Today, we establish the Free Worlds Alliance. No masters, no slaves, no empires, just free people working together, protecting each other, and exploring the stars as equals." Admiral Ho, now retired, stood with Colonel and Commander. They had survived the war but carried its scars. Ho had lost an arm in the final battle, walked with a limp. Hands shook from the combat drugs that had kept her alive but damaged her nervous system. "Was it worth it?" asked quietly. Ho looked up at the sky where ships from 100 worlds now traveled freely. "Yes," he said. "Every life we lost mattered. Every sacrifice meant something. We gave the galaxy something it had forgotten: hope." Dr. Haywon worked with the freed, helping them heal from their trauma. She had become the Alliance's first chief diplomat, using her understanding and compassion to build bridges between species. The beings she had freed from the Star Breaker considered her a hero. She considered them her friends. High Chancellor was tried for crimes against countless civilizations. He showed no remorse, even at the end. Before his sentence was carried out, he asked to speak with President one final time. "You should have surrendered," he said. "So many lives would have been saved." "No," replied. "So many lives were lived, there's a difference. You offered survival, we chose life." 3 years after the war ended, a new species made first contact with the Free Worlds Alliance. They approached cautiously, expecting demands and threats. Instead, they were greeted by Ambassador Haywon with a simple message. "Welcome to the galaxy," she said with a warm smile. "You're free here. No one will force you to do anything. No one will threaten you. We're here if you need help, but you make your own choices. That's what freedom means." The alien delegates broke down in tears of relief. That night on Earth, children played under stars that no longer seemed dangerous. They drew pictures of brave soldiers and clever engineers. They sang songs about the day humanity said no to tyrants. They grew up knowing that their parents and grandparents had fought so they could be free. And in the darkness between stars, where the Dominion once ruled, now flew ships from 100 worlds, each one different, each one free, each one proof that tyranny, no matter how powerful, cannot defeat the will to be free. Humanity had reached for the stars with open hands. When the stars reached back with fists, humanity taught the galaxy a lesson that would echo forever. Never corner someone who has everything to lose. Never threaten someone who values freedom over life. Never fight someone who refuses to surrender. Never fight humans,